Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Thunderstock Show, collection of valuable brainstorms to enhance your life, liberty, pursuit of property. Today's guest, Stephanie Smith. Stephanie has a love for numbers, as evidenced by her bookkeeping and fractional CFO business, but she also has a background in math. Can't wait to talk to you, Stephanie. It was great chatting with you offline. How is it in sunny and pollinated Georgia?
Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Today's not sunny. It's rainy outside, but washing away the pollen, it is very yellow here and definitely feeling it from the allergy perspective, which I feel like I hear from most people that they don't have allergies until they move to Georgia. So I'm sorry for anyone in Georgia, but looking forward to getting past that this time period.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I think where I live in Pennsylvania might be the worst air quality maybe in the world. I'm a little bit biased, but we live in between two Amish farms. So farm country with a very green state. I can relate, but speaking of allergies, tis the season, it's tax season or the winding down of quarter one. How was this season for you? I'm assuming pretty busy.
Yeah, this was actually one of our busiest first quarters that we've had. A lot of people will come to us. We offer, as you mentioned, both bookkeeping and CFO services, and we get a lot of people around this time of year looking for cleanup projects so they can file their taxes. And we've had quite a few larger cleanup projects this year, which has been nice for us. Always happens around this time of year because people want to file their taxes.
Talk me up as one of those people. As marketing brain with sales, I am not geared towards taxes and finance and accounting. So I can relate to your clients. Tell me a little bit about the differences that you see working with clients on bookkeeping versus the CFO, because some people listening might not really know that there's that big of a difference. And I think you and I do know there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. What's the difference between a CFO and what they do versus what a bookkeeper does versus even what a CPA would do for you as well? And I think there is some clarity that everyone should know because a lot of the times I see people that will want one person that does all the things. And I think there's pros and cons to that as well, but a bookkeeper, what we do for our bookkeeping clients is we keep record of what has happened in the past. So as you go and make purchases, as you spend money, as your income comes in, we categorize those transactions on your books. We make sure everything is where it should be in the right categories and it shows up in the right places. And we will also help with things like if you have trucks or cars or vehicles or loans or those kind of things, that all takes some extra effort to get on your books. And we make sure all of that is accurate. So, a bookkeeper in itself will typically help you record the past. And you need that information to make good decisions for the future, just in general. And obviously, to file your taxes. If you show up to your CPA with a shoebox full of receipts, that's not helpful for them. And it takes a lot more time and effort. So, having a bookkeeper keep up with that for you is really good. And then on the CPA side, they are the ones that are filing your taxes. They're the compliance, helping you make sure that you're getting those big tax breaks if you're using someone to do that tax planning and preparation. There's different levels of tax services too. We don't offer any tax help, but they're going to help you get that biggest tax break using what's happened in your business. And then a CFO, what they would do will come in and help you plan for the future. They're going to take those numbers of the past and look into the future with them and then help you. Like what we like to do is we'll talk about your goals for your personal goals and your business goals and help you adjust in your business to meet those goals. So we can look at what you've done in the past, set goals to where you want to be, and then help you achieve the goals that you want either in your personal life or in the business, whether that's you want to grow, open locations, hire people, or from the personal side, you might want to send your kid to college or go on vacation. All of that takes money, and you have to be able to plan and prepare to make that money. So it's a little more forward thinking than the other two.
How did you get into bookkeeping and fractional CFO work? I know, similar to me, you went to school to be a teacher. what was the decision making logic behind switching?
Yeah, so I feel like I have a really odd story when it comes to all of that, but I loved math. I was a math nerd in school. My favorite teacher was my calculus teacher in high school, and I knew I wanted to be a math teacher. That's what I knew at the time. I know now that that was not the case, but I went to college to be a math teacher, and I actually feel like I knew that maybe that wasn't the right thing for me in college because I ended up dual majoring in math and math education. So I feel like I underlying message is like if you feel like you need a backup plan, which is kind of what I was doing, that maybe your primary plan isn't the right plan for you, but it worked out well. I did dual major. I did end up teaching high school math for just 1 year. It was right before the market crashed last, and I ended up having my position eliminated along with a lot of other people and couldn't find another teaching job after that. So when I was in school, people were like, oh, yeah, it'll be so easy for you to find a math job or a teaching job. Everyone's looking for math teachers. And that just wasn't the case at the time. And I ended up finding myself doing a couple of other things. I did employee benefits. I was an account manager, which was great. I know more about insurance than most people. And I found myself in the instructional design world after that, which is kind of very related to teaching. And a lot of teachers are leaving the field of teaching to do instructional design. It's kind of the back end in the corporate space. So I ended up in corporate. I actually still have a full time corporate job doing instructional design. I support a sales team at a company headquartered here in Atlanta. And I I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I got advertised. I got advertised too for a Facebook ad about doing bookkeeping as a stay at home mom. And I wasn't a stay at home mom, but my husband was a stay at home dad. He quit his job to take care of our kids after we had children. And I was like, I think we could do this. And he kept saying, this is right up your alley. You love numbers. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. And I kind of just fell in love with it. It is right up my alley. I love numbers. I'm a very details oriented person. And we learned bookkeeping and we're really, I want to say, successful at it. We've just learned all the nuances of the bookkeeping side of the house in and out. As we're working with bookkeeping clients, we just realized that people need more help than just bookkeeping. So that's when we started offering the CFO advisory services. And we wanted to help people focus on growing their business and being more successful and really just trying to make more out of their business than just the numbers every day. So we all start businesses because we're interested in supporting our lives. And I think we all need a little more help making that happen so we can plan our lives around our business and not plan our business or vice versa, plan our business around our lives and not plan our lives around our business. And that's what we want to help people achieve.
It's a neat story to hear that you started your business with your husband. So it's a true family business.
Yes.
What is it like managing a family and a business at the same time with a partner in
We have our ups and downs, just like anything, but we do still work on the business together. My husband does a lot because do have my full-time job still. He does a lot of the day-to-day. He's the one meeting with people and he's a lot of it's funny because I told you, but we were chatting before that I make YouTube videos on Zoho books and people will see me and they'll reach out and then I think they get on a call with my husband and they're like, who are you? Expecting to see me, but um it's been good actually. We've worked well together to run the business. We have very different personalities, which I think helps. So you'll see me as more of the face of the business than him and he is much more of that like let's get the work done, which is great. So we go hand in hand. As for also running the family, it's challenging. I'm not going to lie. My kids, I'll tell you this story. My son was drawing. My son is 6, and he's like, I want to draw a picture of your favorite thing. So he drew my husband at the beach or whatever. And he's like, Mommy, what's your favorite thing? And my other son goes, working. And I was like, oh, it was like gut wrenching just a little bit because I don't want that to be what my kids think of me necessarily, but I am working a lot. So we just try to balance it. And we're trying to get to a place in our business where we can have more balance and we can spend more time together as a family.
I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. And I think if you do love working, hey, I mean, there's worse things that you could love than work. I do have similar stories with my almost 3-year old where she will pretend to help me work. So we have another room in the house that has like the spare computer. And she goes, Daddy, you work here. I'll work there. And then she'll just go sit in the chair and bang on the keyboard. And, she definitely tries to emulate. And I started my business for similar, it wasn't a Facebook ad, but it was in order to have a more integrated life with my wife, who, although I tried to get her to help me with work, she's very much in her own lane with her career, and I'm proud of that and happy for her. But I did name my business after my daughter, so maybe someday when she gets older, she'll want to do marketing, but she might need to get another job somewhere else first.
I love that. And that's exactly why we started the business, because my husband worked at a grocery store. He was a manager for 10 years. He worked at the movie theater 10 years before that. And it was like we wanted the flexibility for him to be at home. At the grocery as a grocery store manager, he was working 60 hours a week and always on call. And it was like, for one, we liked having him at home because it was possible, but also just want to be there for your kids. We want to, if something happens, someone has to take off work. And this business was really good for us from a flexibility perspective to be able to take care of our kids and spend time with them, go to their events and everything like that. But you just can't get that out of a retail job as much unless you happen to have like really great boss who understands family life. It's just not the same.
Yeah, you only get to raise your kids once. So I think that people out there that listen and are thinking about whether or not they can start their own business or making a decision about making the jump, it's like you could find a Facebook ad, you could get a course, you could take a course, and then if you stick with it and you put in the work, you could have your very own business that replaces your job that you might hate. And Stephanie's family business is a great example.
And I would add that it wasn't an overnight thing for us. It took us a long time to learn and to get the skills that we needed to get to where we're at today and to grow and everything. So, business ownership in general is a journey, and just don't expect anything to happen overnight.
Is more difficult to stick with it than it is to start. And you're right, it doesn't happen overnight, but if you just take directionally appropriate steps, you make some progress each and every day. They say marathon, not a sprint. And I think that's actually a great analogy because if you sprint every day and you're like, I better replace my income in 90 days or else, well, then you're just kind of setting yourself up for a lot of pressure and stress and disappointment. So, what are some of the things that now that you've been in business for quite some time that you might not have known when you started?
That's a good question. One thing is I would tell people don't what do I want to say? I want to say progress, not perfection. Don't be afraid of people online. Don't be afraid to show up online. I wish I would have done that more. Reach out to people, especially if you're just getting started. You have to wear so many hats as a business owner, and figuring out what you're good at and not good at is really essential, and making the admission of that. Like, I know I'm not good at bookkeeping. I need someone to help me. And whether you can hire someone to do it or not, there's tons of resources out on the internet at this point in time. Find them, read a book, learn a new skill, and just try. And I think what you said before, taking action makes the biggest difference. You can have all the desires and wants that anyone has, but if you're not making a plan, you can write down your plan even, but if you're not taking the steps and taking action, you'll never accomplish it. So if you're disappointed in where you're at in your business, you need to ask yourself, like, what are you doing different, or what are you going to do different to get to the place that you want to be? And that, I think that makes a really big difference. And you really be honest with yourself about that. Like, if you're wanting more clients, if you're wanting to grow, look at what you're doing today and ask yourself, what am I going to do differently tomorrow? And then take action on it.
I think that people far too often overlook the fact that they can improve their life. So I think people think, oh, this is just the way it is. I better just either keep complaining and not change anything or get used to it and get over it. And what I found working with people, especially that may not have been in entrepreneurship before, but then get into it, is if you just focus on learning a skill for a person, there's other people out there that just magnetically get attracted to that because like, oh, I'm like that person or I need that service. So it's not as complicated as people might fear, but it's definitely not easy. And what are some of the things that you've learned, whether it's been finding clients or whether it's been operating the business, that when you started you thought were hard, but are not so hard anymore?
Oh man, I feel like it was all hard in the beginning. Learning skills was hard, reaching out to people and saying, I think really figuring out what it is you stand for as a business, as a person, learning how to articulate that because we we're especially where we're at today with all of AI and everything. You never know what's real and not real. I feel like we're in this place of moving from business to human to human. We want human interaction and people are going to relate to you. Like you said, you're going to tell your story of where you're at. And that's what attracts people to you. They like your story. They're genuinely attracted to you that way. So I think that's definitely one thing, not being afraid to put yourself out there. For me, we were discussing before while we were chatting before my YouTube videos. A lot of people find me on YouTube and I think it helps that they see my face, right? And they connect with me in almost a different way because my face is out there in a video format versus just text because I want to say, we're getting to a place where you're not always going to know what's real and not real, but it's a real video, right? Like it's a real video of me trying to help someone else and it helps you form those relationships and people just seek you out because of that. It gives you an authority and everything. So putting yourself out there, I wish I would have done that sooner.
I love hearing that because when I first started, I've done sales before and I've done marketing for a long time, but it's different when you're an entrepreneur and you own the business because you're not just like in corporate, it's easy because you have the corporate brand. You know, you have somebody potentially looking over your calendar and saying, you should do this, this, and this, and make sure you do it, hold you accountable. But when you're a business owner, you have to dictate and teach yourself and hold yourself accountable. And if you don't sell, then your business doesn't make any money. So I think I have one of the same lessons too. It's like I have done more outreaches in quarter one of 2025 than I did the entire first year and a half when I was in business. The difference is in quarter two, now that we're in quarter two, 25, I think, how do I do more outreaches than I did in quarter one? And in the first year and a half in business, I thought, oh boy, I've done so much. So the perspective completely changed. Like it's all relative, especially to your goals. And I think the more you do something that you're afraid of or you might stink at, the less you become afraid and the less you stink at it. You just get better with reps.
Well, we all suck at whatever it is the first time we do it. Usually, right? You're not going to be good the first time you do something, but the more you practice is how you learn and how you grow. And I think I one of my favorite business books is The Gap versus the Gain. Have you read that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so measuring yourself from the past, like from how much you've grown and not where you're supposed to be or where you think you're supposed to be, I think is really essential in the business world because you got to give yourself credit for everything that you've done. And even if it's doing sales calls and getting no's, you grow from that, right? What did you learn from the no? There's something that happened. There's a reason you didn't get that client. There's a reason the conversation or the situation came up. And if you can take from that a learning perspective of like, what should I have gotten from this or what can I get from it? I think it just helps you have that motivation to keep going. And you have to celebrate those small wins.
So, what are some of the wins that you look back on and are you really grateful for from when you started? I know the gap and the gain is all about if you are always looking to the future, you'll be disappointed by how far away that future goal is. But when you look to the past, you can have gratitude to see how far you've come. What are some of those milestones that you really have gratitude for?
Yeah, I think from that particular perspective, sometimes you start off with really lofty goals, right? And you're like, for me personally, like I want to grow the business a certain amount so I can quit my corporate job, right? And that hasn't happened yet. But now that I can see the past, I know that there were things that happened in life that I didn't need to be in that place. We had a really rough past 2 years with some personal stuff. We found mold in our house. We had to go through mold remediation. We ended up moving. Like all this stuff happened. And it was like I needed the stability of my full time job for all of that. And while my plans were originally different, I can look back and appreciate that things probably didn't quite go as they were planned, what we had planned to do, but I needed that space and time for myself for other things. And I'm personally a spiritual, religious person. I believe God has plans for me and things will happen in the time that they're supposed to happen. And I can't always push that timeline forward, but just looking back and seeing like it was meant to be the way that it happened because of that. So that's just overall in general, I wish I would have could have grown the business faster than we did. But just knowing there was so much life happening, especially with kids, right? Like my youngest just started kindergarten this year. It's like we didn't have as much time before he was in school full time to even dedicate to the business. So we have to wait till we're in a space to have that growth for it to even come to us.
That's right. I love the quote that man plans and God laughs, because there were so many instances that I thought I wanted something to happen in a certain way in a certain time frame, and then I look back and I'm so glad that I didn't get what I wanted. What
Yeah.
are what are
I would
some of
just add
the
that, like, I feel like that's my whole life because I was supposed to be a teacher, right? Like, that was the plan to be a teacher. And then things just happened over the course of so many years. And I am so grateful for the experiences that I've had in the past because it's made me a better person and it's made me a better business owner. And I have very specific skills to what I'm doing today that I wouldn't have had if I didn't go through that in the past.
I think you still are in some ways a teacher, because you said that you make instructional videos on YouTube, and you had that background in corporate where you did, instructional design. And for those that are not familiar with that term, it sounds like you're a corporate teacher in a way.
Yeah. So, instructional design, I basically help create and facilitate training materials for in the corporate space. So it is a corporate teacher. I will add that it's easier to do that in the corporate world because people are getting paid to be there and they want to be there for the most part, whereas children don't want to be in school for the most part. So,
My brother is a math professor, and guess what? They're paying to be there, and they still don't want to be there.
I always said if I went back to teaching, it would be for college because I feel like at least those kids are a little more inclined to pay attention. But definitely the skills, yeah, it's helped me. It's easier for me to create instructional materials and videos. And honestly, I like to say one of my superpowers is breaking down complex ideas and information into something simple, which in the space of finances is really important because everything's complicated. So I love doing that. And I did that as a teacher. I think I learned that skill. Like, how can I break this down for my students to really understand? And I do that as an instructional designer. I learned to do that because we as adults, unless you're in a very specific industry, I'll say, engineering and IT and everything like that, we still want things simple. We want to learn things that are easy to understand. And as entrepreneurs is the same way. We're busy. I can guarantee you, you're not looking to try to interpret information. You just want something that you can quickly get the information that you need and run with it. So it's been helpful.
It's interesting that you've identified your superpower and your sort of passion or interest, because one of the things that I do in terms of marketing strategy for small business owners, when I talk about strategy, a lot of people think the basics of marketing, your messaging, your positioning, your pricing, and that stuff goes into it. But when I think about strategy, I think about putting constraints on limited resources when you have the face of unlimited decisions. And those resources that I really care about, especially for small business, are, yeah, money. Obviously, we need to follow a budget. Stephanie, you're very budget aware. You help people do that all the time. But what's less problem aware in marketing is what kind of activities that could be marketing give the person energy that they get excited for, that they may feel more comfortable or have more confidence doing. And the reason that those questions are important is because if you were to say, just focus on paid ads and never make content, you might hate it. And then you're likely not to do it. And you're likely not to be as good as if you were to make instructional YouTube videos, which you do like and you do have energy for. So it's fun talking to people that are in different industries that get it, right? They get marketing needs to be done and you don't need to overcomplicate what to do because anything can work. It depends on if you work.
Well, I think people see that energy too, right? Like if they can tell if you're not doing things with a passion or you're just putting stuff out for whatever reason. And what's interesting, and as I just was taking a training, and one of the topics that came up was niching, right? Like, what's your niche? And it's like, don't just pick a niche that someone said you can make a lot of business in, right? Because find something that you like. And what was interesting, this was a class just for CFOs, and he's like, if you like golfing, there's like a whole industry around golfing. And you have to take that approach. Like you could go after golf courses or country clubs, or take golf apparel and retail and that kind of stuff. Like you can find clients in a niche that is something that you're passionate about, and then every day you get to talk about the things that you love, and every day you get to connect with people about something that you love, and then it just comes out that way in the way that you conversate and the things that you talk about. And I do think it helps give you that energy, because otherwise you're kind of stuck in a rut. If you To your point, if you told me I had to do paid ads every day, I probably would be miserable. And I don't want to do that.
So, from your YouTube channel, what are some of the tips that you have that might be like reoccurring themes through your videos? Like, what kind of content do you put out there, and what is your niche that you've identified?
I'm going to be fully honest and transparent. I don't have a niche really that I'm going after per se, but the YouTube videos, when we were chatting about this a little bit before, I decided to create how-to tutorials for Zoho Books. And I did that specifically because everyone does tutorials on QuickBooks. It's very common. Zoho Books is less common software. I think it's growing because I feel like a lot of people are getting upset with QuickBooks as they're growing. And their business has changed a little bit. And I also feel like Zoho, if you're not familiar with Zoho One offers this really unified platform with a bunch of different spokes, and everything talks to each other. So a lot of our clients come from that. I made the YouTube videos on how to do Zoho Books. So people are looking up how to do their own thing, and they see me in the videos, and I try to keep things, again, really simple. That's my goal: short, sweet, to the point. I'm not trying to overcomplicate anything. And if they need additional help, that's when they reach out. So that has been very successful strategy for us to get clients. And then I started my podcast last year, so that's on my YouTube channel as well, talking about things that impact your bottom line, since we're doing also the CFO advisory stuff. So getting more perspective on the different things that do impact your bottom line and your cash flow and everything like that. But in general, just starting some videos, I think is helpful, because we live in a generation where people are consuming so much information via videos. It's crazy to think about.
You're so right. When you look at social media platforms 10 years ago, Instagram, you need a beautifully taken photo with maybe a caption and some hashtags. You can get found. Facebook, you could share a BuzzFeed article and your thoughts on it, and that post might do great. LinkedIn, typically short blogs. Twitter, typically, few sentences, maybe a photo. Now, every single social media platform, including LinkedIn, focuses and rewards primarily in app video.
Yeah.
It's not just YouTube.
And I
So,
feel like YouTube was the front runner with all the video, but the YouTube Shorts, it wasn't that one of the last things that came up. Like they're finally trying to get on the Shorts bandwagon because people want the short form video.
people want short form video, and there's never been an easier time to get brand awareness and get new people to be aware of you because of that. Before, again, 10 years ago, easily, even sooner than that, the social media metric everyone cared about was how many followers do you have? How many subscribers do you have? And now the channels don't, how do I say this? You need to almost pay to boost or to advertise to your own audience if you have tons of followers, because on average, LinkedIn, for example, if you have 10,000 followers, you can expect to get 500 impressions per post, like a 5% is like a standard. It's not every 10,000 person sees it. You
Right.
know, it's not all your followers get it. So at least with YouTube, my own channel is like 96% net new people that see my stuff. And I think for anyone listening out there, the secret is you could have a bookkeeping CFO firm and have tens and tens of thousands of views just by posting content a couple times a month, right?
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't done a tutorial in a while. I think December was the last time I posted, and because of all the life I talked about in the earlier, I was doing maybe one video a month. It was pretty short. Now I'm posting a little more because I'm in a space where I can do that and be more creative. The bookkeeping's not our primary focus at this point, so I'm doing less tutorials. But yeah, and the good thing is they're forever. So people are still finding me through those same tutorials that I posted years ago.
That's awesome. Love that. One last question for you, Stephanie. It's pretty high level, but what are some things that you would like to say to yourself maybe when you were in grade school and middle school, you thought you wanted to be a math teacher, that you could give some advice knowing what you know now? Not saying you changed anything, but what are some advice you'd like to give your 8-year-old self?
Oh man. I feel like the advice I'd give my younger self is don't try so hard. Don't care so much. And I hope to pass that along to my kids is like we put so much pressure on ourselves sometimes to be perfect. And I know I did. I was the straight A student. I'd get upset when I got bad grades, and my mom once gave me permission. I went to quote unquote permission to fail a test because I was so stressed about it. And I'll tell you, I passed the test with an A, by the way. And it just, I feel like it doesn't matter that much. You get to, as an adult, especially as a kid in high school, like nobody's asking you what grades you got in high school. It's not that important. You should really be basing your life about around how you value yourself and not how other people value you and how you think other people are perceiving you. And I think if I could tell myself that and get myself to understand, because I feel like teenagers are hard headed and they wouldn't get it based on where they're at in life. But I think in general, I would be much more successful. Not that I'm not, but just in a different headspace sooner than I have gotten here today.
I think don't try so hard is the first time I've heard that answer, and I love that because I think a lot of people focus on perfection and they don't realize that it's the enemy of done sometimes. And I think the market rewards getting stuff done. So
I agree.
awesome. Appreciate that insight. Where can people maybe watch your tutorials on YouTube and where people can connect with you if they want to learn more and get in touch?
Yeah, so you can find more about me and our services on my website. It's newlightfs.com. There's a link to the YouTube channel there, but you can also just look me up that way, New Light FS on YouTube, and see my tutorials and my podcast there. Or find me on LinkedIn. I'm also there as well. I'm happy to have a conversation, chat about whatever you're going through, and my goal is just to help people run successful businesses. So that's what I hope to do.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for your time, Stephanie. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much to everyone listening. I don't run ads for the show. I don't plan to. The only ask I have is if you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. Until next time, be well.